our society has removed ourselves from death and we're just not around it much.
A lot of people feel they just can't deal with it, you know.
How is everybody going to treat me now they know what I'm suffering from?
People don't know what to talk about, so sometimes people just stay away. Or people are too afraid of their own mortality, so they stay away. Or people are afraid that they're going to cry, so they stay away. So there are all these people staying away.
I think especially when people are feeling like they don't know what to say, the more important thing is just being there and trying to be quiet and sort of calm with yourself and just being with the person, and even being okay if it's silent. And I think to someone who's going through a terminal illness, that's a real gift, of letting that be okay, of giving them some space to say what they want to say or to say nothing at all.
The gift of just being there is a tremendous gift, because you're being there with someone that so many other people are not being there. And it, you know, we read about this all the time, but I mean, I've been with hundreds of people as they've been sick, and almost to a person, those people can tell you about the people who are not being there, who don't come, who just can't face it.
There is a need to have somebody there. There is a need for, yes, a crutch. There is a need for somebody to lean on.
When someone wants to know, what can I do? You can be there.
One thing that you could do as a caretaker is ask what the patient would like or your loved one would like for you to do, because sometimes we want to do something for them and it's not their idea of fun. For example, maybe you want to take them out to a movie and they're not a really movie person.
It's also important to be specific. Would you like me just to sit here with you quietly and I can read, or I can do some handiwork? Or would you like me to read to you? Or would you like me to putter around the house and check in on you now and then? Would you like me to make sure that your kids get a birthday party? Would you offer some specific things, but then do what the person wants.
Talk to me about anything and everything. Not necessarily about the disease, but I can talk about it. There are times when I want to talk about it, there are times when I don't. And you'll know that, you'll sense it, you'll feel it. But just be a friend. What I'd really like more than anything would be just to answer the phone when it's ringing and somebody's on the other end saying, "Hey Dave, let's go fishing on Sunday." Because I can still do that. The difference is I'd need some help. Get me somewhere where I don't have to walk too far. But I would love them more than anything to answer the phone and say, "Hey, let's go fishing."
It's the little things that matter, and you don't think you have to do it. Oh, let's take a trip to France and go out and celebrate or something like that. It doesn't need to be very big or expensive. I think there's many things that you can do, or even go out to the park and listen to the birds if it's nice weather, or put your feet in a lake. Little things that will bring joy in different ways instead of watching TV or being at home, because eventually, if the disease continues, they will be at home and they will be bedridden. But if they have those experiences and the chance of being outside, then that will also bring healing.
Now, being there doesn't mean that you go in and you decide what needs to be done. If the person who is sick can tell you what he or she wants, then ask.
I guess what I really would need more than anything from a caregiver is one, to be there wherever humanly possible when I need that person to be there, whilst at the same time not to a point of overpowering me, constantly saying, what can I do next for you? Oh, poor David. Oh, don't do that. Let me do it for you. No, sit down. You're not well. I am still an intelligent being. I can still fulfill a lot of functions, and yet not everything. And I'd like you to be there to help me with some of those things that I cannot do alone. Whilst at the same time, I don't want you to be, I want you to be a caregiver, I want you to be a friend, I want you to be everything in one, but I don't want you to run or organize my entire life.
You know, there are two sides to life, and one is the life that we know, and one is death that those of us who aren't dead can't know. And there's a place in between where it's as if the veil between life and death starts to get thinner or begins to lift some. And the person who is the one who's dying can see that thinning or can see the lifting that we can't. And so it's as if perhaps the grandfather starts to look a little bit more at this side of life that those of us over here can't see. And so his interest is shifting. And letting him know that you love him is still important.
My grandmother was dying, so my mom decided to go into the bedroom with my grandmother, and I think what happened, she sat down and all they did was just hug and cry, and it was great because it was sort of a closure, I think, between them. And I'm really happy that that happened, because if she would have waited a day or so, that would never have taken place. So when someone is dying, you need to count the blessings you have when they are still alert, and make sure that you take care of that emotional business that is going on between you and that family member. Because things change, and you cannot predict how the illness will progress or how their body will respond to their own dying process. So when that window opens, take advantage of it.
The other thing is that even as a person maybe becomes comatose or is sleeping most of the time, that being there is just as important, because there's still a part of the person who is present. And we know that the comatose patient is sometimes aware of who is present, although not able to communicate that.
To me, I feel it's very important that you touch, very important. The touching and rubbing, or just letting them know that you're there.
In a normal way, you can approach and say, I'm here for you, and I'll be sitting here for the next 10 minutes. And if you do have to stand up and leave, say, I'm going to be out of the room, but I'll be in the kitchen if you need me, even though they're not responding. So the more verbal you are with your communication to them, even though they cannot, or you think they cannot hear you, they can. It's a reassurance for them that you're there. And that way you also are letting them know that you're doing the best you can to take care of them.
A terminal illness is not an individual's issue, it's a family issue. And if there is a family involved, then the family needs to participate in that.
Sometimes when I go into people's homes and I'll talk to a caregiver, and they'll say, it just seems like everyone's out of control. And I sort of laugh at it. It's like, well, yeah, everyone is out of control. Everybody's dealing with a situation that they've not had to deal with before. this person that you all love, or that you've all known, or that's all been a part of your family, whether or not you love them a great deal, is dying. And all of the feelings that you can possibly imagine in all of these people are going to be out of control. They've all come out, and people may be acting and doing and saying things that are shocking or surprising.
The emotions are going to be different for each member of the family. Everybody is going to cope with the death of the loved one in a very different way. You just give someone space to act the way they decide to act. And I don't think it's a time to lecture someone of how they should be behaving or what they should be saying. I think the focus should be on peace for the person that's dying.
My father was born to very, very poor Czechoslovakian immigrants, and lived in a community where no one spoke English, and they were sharecroppers, desperately poor. And death and birth were things that happened at home, and they were so often so close together. People loved each other, but they also knew that they were going to die. And it seems like so many people I meet now are just shocked at the thought that someone they know might die. But it's going to happen.
Dealing with all the practical aspects of a pending death is really challenging. It's hard, it's painful, it's confusing, and it's important that it be dealt with.
When death is something that doesn't happen, that is out there, that is clean and neat and sanitized and happens far away to people that we don't know, then it leaves, it's as if there's a rich hue to the color of our lives that's been stripped away. And when we pull it back, we will regain that quality.